Hey guys, I am Brett. This is Hunter, and we are the Real Rendezvous podcast. And today we're doing it standard. We're going to do a movie review for you guys. We're going to talk about Brick. Rian Johnson movie, came out 2006 or 2005, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, IMDb says 2005, but we watched it on Vudu. Vudu says 2006. So maybe it's one of those late year releases. Mm-hmm. You know, I know like Hateful Eight, when it came out, it had it came out at the end of December or whatever the fuck year that was. And then I saw it in January.
Yeah.
So
2005 or 2006. Either way, it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, not the spoiler alert. This movie is amazing.
Oh, it's fantastic.
This was your first viewing, correct?
Yes. This is the first time I had seen this movie. Hunter actually talked to me about it a few times before, you know, just on other hangouts and watching movies together. He would bring it up, and I always meant to watch it. I just kept forgetting about it. But it seemed really interesting, and lo and behold, that's because it was. It was really interesting, and I really genuinely enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I was just telling Brett earlier, I've always had this, I don't know, I don't want to say the word affinity, but I just really dig like a noir aesthetic. The game LA Noire, when it came out, whatever year that was, I never got into it the year it came out, but like 6-8 months after its release, one of my buddies was like, "Man, you gotta play this game," and we were real big into Rockstar anyway. Rockstar Games, shout out. And like whenever I fired up LA Noire for the first time, he let me borrow it. And like the opening, the main menu screen, just like that smoky jazz music, and like the main menu has the logo with like a neon light flickering the whole time, and it's like subtle rain in the background, and you know, I really enjoy noir, and that's what this film Brick is. It's not the I'm starting to talk about other things here, but Brick really is the definition of the term neo noir. It hits everything there as far as all the bases covered on what a noir film is. Brett, did you say earlier? Yeah, I believe you did. Rian Johnson directed this.
Yep.
So this was Rian Johnson's
first movie, wasn't it?
First major film directorial. I'm looking here. Yeah, he had 4 short films under his belt before releasing this one.
See, that's actually funny you say that. His first 4 were short films, because I actually, while we were watching it, I made a note of it that it felt for the first bits of it felt like it was shot like a short film.
Yeah,
it felt like a short film,
and you know, it really,
which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it really does kind of benefit from that perspective.
Yeah.
It's easily digestible, but with that said, it is a movie that asks you to pay attention. Mm-hmm. But if as long as you're not a numbskull and you enjoy good film, you can't help. I mean, you can't help but pay attention.
Oh yeah.
So this movie, like we said, it was his first major film release. And it didn't have a very big budget. It was under $500,000.
It only made back about, how much did it make back? $3 million?
Trying to find on here. Yeah, the budget was estimated $475,000. It opened in the U.S. domestic, only made $83,000.
Oh, it only made $83,000?
Yeah, but it grossed $2 million U.S.
Okay.
And then worldwide gross was almost $4 million. 3.9 million. So I mean, it made money back, but like we said, I mean, this wasn't like a wide release anyway.
Before Hunter told me about it, I'd never heard of it a day in my life.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I think the only way I ever heard of it, I had some movie on DVD whenever I was young, and this was a you know how like when you had a DVD, you always had a few previews.
Yeah.
And this was one of the movies that was a preview on it. I can't remember what movie it was that I had. But, so basically, we haven't even delved into what it's generally about here. But like we said, directed by Rian Johnson. It stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the lead role as high schooler Brendan Fry. Says here, a teenage loner pushes his way into the underworld of a high school crime ring to investigate the disappearance of his ex-girlfriend. And, with that statement right there, if I'd never viewed this before, I'd wonder if it was a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds like it would be a parody.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not at all.
It takes its concept of a neo-noir film set in a high school setting, and they run with it.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
He's right. I mean, it really does, man. It hits on all cylinders, and like I said, it's not tongue in cheek. It leans hard into it, and it's got a lot of believability, in my opinion.
It takes itself very seriously.
But Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then I don't want to say a bunch of no names and the rest of the cast. That's terrible to say. These are because the whole cast is great.
Oh, they did fantastic.
There wasn't a single role. Even our boy Brad played his part pretty well.
Oh, 100%. He made the most of it.
Especially whenever he tried to kick Joseph Gordon-Levitt's ass.
Yeah.
But the cast includes Lucas Haas, Emily? It's Emily, I believe, but it's just spelled with an IE at the end instead of a Y. So Emily de Ravine, Megan Good, Nora Zetner, Noah Fleece, Noah Segan, Matt O'Leary, and I'm not going to read the entire cast, but that's like the main frame of most of the characters. Mm-hmm. And not only was this directed by Rian Johnson, it was written by Rian Johnson. And in case anybody on here is unaware of Rian Johnson, the rest of his filmography, he directed 2019's Knives Out, another murder mystery. I don't really want to call that one so much a neo-noir because...
that one's definitely less noir.
I mean, it's got a little bit of that aesthetic, but it leans into that like tongue-in-cheek whodunit caper to its avail. It's a good film too. I really enjoy Knives Out. Have you watched all of Knives Out?
No, not yet.
I know that Christmas, whenever we came over there, you guys had it on the TV.
Yeah,
but it was kind of like background.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rian Johnson for making Knives Out. That movie kicks ass too.
Yeah. Some of you may also recognize Rian Johnson's names from both of them, Rian and Johnson. You may recognize him from his work on the Star Wars. Did he do Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, or did he just do Last Jedi?
He only did The Last Jedi.
Yes. That's right, because Rise of Skywalker was J.J. Abrams trying to undo. Yeah.
Which... let's not get down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, but, that's another story for another episode.
Yeah, just so everybody knows. Well, actually, I'm not going to speak in any ultimatum since we're still in the early young ages of our podcast. But I am a huge Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars so much. I have a Star Wars tattoo. But I have... some opinions. I have some reservations, to say the least, about Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. And he's a great director. He's a great filmmaker. But that movie didn't give me what I wanted out of Star Wars.
No, it did not.
But which really that whole last trilogy kind of didn't. But we're not here to talk about that. We're gonna talk about Brick.
No, to bring it back. From this Rian Johnson slander.
Sorry. I didn't mean to spearhead that. Rian Johnson, if you ever listen to this podcast, I do love you. Make more neo-noirs.
Brick 2. Make Brick 2.
Continue that trend.
But to put some more credit on his name, you were telling me while we were watching it, Brick, you were telling me that Rian Johnson is actually a huge Cowboy Bebop fan.
Yeah.
And a lot of that love for that show influenced a lot of the decisions he made when directing Brick.
Okay, so right here, just so everybody knows, my biggest reference point on this podcast is IMDb. I'll get Brett to download the app eventually.
Dude loves IMDb. He swears by it.
Sometimes I get bored and I just read like synopses on IMDb. Swear to God. But so in the trivia / did you know fun facts section of IMDb on the film Brick, Rian Johnson cited spaghetti westerns and Cowboy Bebop as influences on his visualization of this film.
And you can definitely tell.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of shots where I was like, that's just, I've seen that. I've seen Spike Spiegel do that.
Well, and then you talking about the wide shots and the long shots.
Yes.
That's
he loves
all,
his wide shots.
That's all like classic Sergio Leone spaghetti Western, which I know you're not like, you haven't seen a whole lot of classic Westerns, but any of the ones with Clint Eastwood, like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, those films, those are all directed by Sergio Leone, and he crushed it whenever it come to, like we said, wide shots, long takes, long shots, anything zoomed in on the face, like the eyes, and like the kind of back and forth type thing. Which I love those too. I was raised on Clint Eastwood worship. My father loves him. But and then right here it says Brendan's hair, personality, and distinctive walk are partially inspired by Spike Spiegel, the pretty much the main protagonist from Cowboy Bebop. In case anybody out there is wondering what Cowboy Bebop is, it's an anime. It was released in 1998, and it's probably the best anime of all time. I'm just going to say it. I don't care what anybody
Hunter's a very
says.
large Cowboy Bebop fan. I haven't finished it yet, sorry to say, but from what I've seen of it and what I plan on finishing, it is really good. I love the main character and all that. I see him. I see that, that influence is on Rian Johnson's sleeve in this movie. Brendan, Spike Spiegel, they both have that sort of cool guy swagger. I know what I'm doing, and it's just and Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays it phenomenally. Yeah, he, like we were saying earlier, the entire cast is great. Yeah, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt absolutely annihilates this movie. He gave it his all. There's one scene near the middle endish where he's mad and he's going off on a tangent in some dressing room, and it is just, he does it perfectly.
Middle endish? You gonna get a copyright on that term?
Yeah, middle endish. That's trademarked. No one else can use it. That is a trademark of The Real Rendezvous. Middle endish. We'll start selling T-shirts.
You're talking about the where he like shatters the mirror.
Yes. Oh, okay. And then it's followed by this amazing center frame of the character he's talking to in front of the shadow. I love center framing, by the way. If you give me an asymmetrical shot with center framing, I eat it up. I love it so much. That other scene where the Pin and Tug are standing. And then he's in the middle, crouched down. Oh, I absolutely live for those kinds of shots.
Yeah, that whole room down there, just like, I feel like, at least my age group, I'm 28 years old. We've all been to that one random like old ass relative's house who's got a weird room with that like shitty false wood paneling all around it, and like looks plain, but somehow like Rian Johnson and the director of photography, I can't remember his name. I think it was Steve Yedlin. They turned like the most boring, mundane room into a really cool scene, a tense scene too. And like you said, credit to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's acting and the other two actors as well, Lucas Haas and Noah Fleiss. So I meant to jump in earlier and tell you I do cut you slack whenever it comes to not watching all of Cowboy Bebop yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Brett is 10 years younger than me. I'm 28. Brett's 18, so he's got time. I'm just glad he's not like one of these kids binging like My Hero Academia or something. Ooh. Or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Chloe would like to hear you say that.
But don't tell Chloe I said that.
Oh, I would never.
Chloe will rip my eyes out.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't seen. The only other movie I've ever seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt in is The Dark Knight Rises.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the only thing you've seen him in?
I mean, if you can rattle off some titles he's been in that I might know but don't remember. But
well, like we said, Rian Johnson's Looper. Maybe we didn't say that. Yeah, Rian Johnson also directed Looper.
Oh, well, yeah.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in that film. And he also... Really? I mean, he doesn't have a bunch of like leading man roles. Well, that's not true. He played in kind of a dramedy with Seth Rogen called 50-50, where he has cancer. And like the film is about like him going through chemo, and Seth Rogen's his best friend trying to, keep him together. And he also played in here. I'm gonna pull him up on my fancy tool I have here.
Give me his filmography.
He also played in Inception. Man, he's working with some badass directors. Christopher Nolan with The Dark Knight and Rian Johnson. I mean, those are two of the best like working today.
I always get Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Ed Norton's faces swapped in my head sometimes.
Really? Like Ed Norton's like a little bit older than JGL.
Like sometimes when I think about the 2009, 2009 Hulk movie. Mm-hmm. I for some reason
I think that's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Well, I know it's Ed Norton, but when I think of it in my head, I see Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face.
So Joseph Gordon-Levitt also played in 2020's Netflix film Project Power. I didn't watch that. I thought it looked like shit. He did the voice of a character on The Last Jedi. Well, there's an L in his.
What was the character's name?
I don't know. I can't. Slow and Low.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. He did the mocap for Snoke, maybe. That's a lie. I lied about that. How hard would that be to do mocap? You just do like on his face because Snoke don't move the whole time.
Well, hey, you'd have to bend over at one point.
Yeah. He also played a small role in Sin City. He was badass in that. He's a great actor. He's a great actor. He's played in a lot of shit, and a lot of people from like the 90s would probably know him from Third Rock from the Sun. He was in that sitcom with John Lithgow. That was a long, like I said,
Lord
late
Farquaad.
90s. Yeah.
John Lithgow plays Lord. That's the only thing I know John Lithgow from is Shrek.
We're gonna hone your skills here throughout the stint of this podcast. Oh, and he also was a child actor in Angels in the Outfield, a Disney movie from like 94, 93, something like that. But we love JGL. We're big JGL supporters.
Shout out JGL.
That would have been tight if they would have fleshed out. Well, I'm not going to talk about Dark Knight Rises. I'm not going to talk.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Brick, what we'll do here is we're going to jump into the synopsis and just kind of give our thoughts throughout. There will be spoilers.
Oh yeah.
This podcast. We'll give you guys heads up every time we do a review on spoilers, but just so everybody knows, what's the point of talking about the movie if we can't talk about every aspect?
Yeah. The main point is that if we talk about a movie, that we're gonna spoil, it's usually because we like it so much and we recommend you go watch it before listening.
That's correct. Very much so.
Yeah.
I usually just value our opinions anyway. I mean, we're smart people.
Yeah. Listen to this podcast if you don't want to watch the movie, but you want to talk about it like you have.
That's so true. All right. So, Brett, with that said, you want me to start rattling off on the synopsis here?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
All right. If you see me miss anything, just let me know. I mean, I'm just kind of reading down here. All right. So present day, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Brendan Fry, is sitting in a tunnel. Looks like at a kind of like a bridge overpass or something.
The way they frame that every time it's shot, it's another center frame shot of the tunnels in the center.
Yeah,
and it just looks really nice.
And he's staring at a dead body laying on the ground in like a stream coming through this tunnel. It's kind of like a giant culvert for like an overpass where this is, and he's just kind of like staring at this dead girl's body, contemplating whatever. And also, I think we'll go ahead and just get this out of the way. The soundtrack absolutely slaps.
Oh my god!
Didn't you say like right there at the beginning?
Oh yeah, and they use it a bit throughout whenever Emily's on screen. Actually,
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, whenever Emily's on screen, they have this track that's made up of just ringing bells, rhythmic ringing of like jingle bells, and it's a very tense track, and I think that's on purpose, because
right.
We're trying to figure out what happened to this girl. We'll get to that.
Yeah, which by the way, the dead girl is Emily.
Oh yeah. The dead girl's name is Emily. Not to be confused with the actress Emily, who plays the character Emily.
Yeah, man, they really got creative with that one.
They really did.
Let's keep your name because we're idiots. Why. But yeah, I'm gonna change the spelling in the movie, even though it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, and the soundtrack is like, that's just more that noir shit we talked about.
Oh yeah, lots of espionage.
Brass.
Yeah,
lots of brass instruments. Mm-hmm. A lot of crudy smokiness.
Yeah. It's a good way to. I like that. I like that description of
there's like
I dig that.
These like jazz, like dark jazz playlists on Spotify I'll listen to, and they're like titled like "Cigarette in a Smoky Bar."
Dark jazz, is that the genre?
I mean, that's a genre that I call it. I call it like dark jazz or noir jazz. I listen to it all the time.
Because I think about it in my head. I'm like, what genre of music is that? Because I was thinking about it earlier.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna look some up.
Oh, I can. Hey, listen, buddy. I can send you some noir dark jazz.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it'll make you think of all the gin joints in all the bars in all the world. Why did she have to walk into mine?
Is that from?
Yeah, it's from some old noir movie. I don't know.
I've heard it before.
I'm a poser. So, anyways, present day. Brendan's sitting there staring at this dead girl lying in the water. It's Emily. So then we snap to another flashback 2 days previous of him looking at this dead body. Emily slips a note into Brendan's locker telling him a specific phone booth to go to for her to call him. And
the phone booth is a plot device used throughout the entire
whole film, yeah.
It's mostly for exposition, but they use it in a really creative way, and it's always shot really well.
Well, and that's another thing too, because where we say we love the dialogue in this movie, it's not hefty on dialogue. Like
not really.
It's not like a Tarantino film where like 90% of the movie is talking. Mm-hmm. Like I think it balances it well.
Yeah, I do think the dialogue is bar none my favorite part of the entire movie, because what they've done here is they've taken this high school setting, right? The kids are high schoolers, they go to high school. But they kept the dialogue the same way it would be in any adult gritty noir detective movie. So there's it's metaphors all the way through. It's
basically like if you were watching Dawson's Creek, but you had Humphrey Bogart doing the voiceover for all the kids. Humphrey Bogart's like a classic, like noir actor. Him or like Dean Martin, or no, that's not Dean Martin. Fuck. Anybody else that's listening, comment on our podcast. Tell me more noir actors. But you get the gist of it.
Yeah, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt just delivers it all so well and so fluently. And I'll be honest, there are some times when I didn't really understand what they were saying. Yeah. But like some of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, like it's almost like the shit you don't understand, they make up for the ones that you do understand, because it's like it's a home run, you know?
Yeah. Oh, the dialogue is so good, man.
So he goes to this phone booth and receives the call, and it's Emily. She's in a panic. She says she's in trouble. And she's speaking in some of those words that we don't understand. But our protagonist, Brendan, he can't make sense of what she's saying either. She uses some words like poor Frisco, pin, brick, and tug.
That's the title of the movie.
Yep, title drop. Brick.
Roll credits.
It's over. While he's on the phone with her, a black car is coming down the 4-lane that he's standing on the corner of on the payphone, mm-hmm. And it's a badass Mustang Fastback, by the way, all black.
It's a real nice car.
Yeah, so it's ripping down the road, and Emily screams and panics. So she's apparently near this phone booth. This synopsis doesn't say it, but I believe she does say it's nice seeing you.
Yeah,
Brendan.
Yeah. And then he starts looking around for her.
So, he's looking around for her, but she panics when she sees this car come ripping by and hangs the phone up. And then as the car drives by, out of the passenger, a cigarette gets flicked out, and the cigarette has a blue arrow on it. So Brendan goes to his friend, who doesn't have an actual name. They just call him Brain. and he's introduced cool too because
yeah.
right off the bat, he's his Bentley.
Nice.
He's sitting there like whipping together a Rubik's Cube.
The Rubik's Cube scene is probably my favorite. Maybe not my absolute favorite, but it is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Just the flow of it.
Yeah.
The dialogue.
Yeah.
It all just works so well together. That scene
right there, I think, really introduces you to what you can anticipate the rest of the movie.
It's a great introductory to this is what this movie is. It's what it's going to be. Strap in and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. So he meets up with Brain, tells him that Emily, his ex-girlfriend, is in trouble, and she's been trying to hang out with popular kids that they refer to as the upper crust through the school. And he kind of delves into he needs to help her out. So Brendan breaks into Emily's locker and takes a ripped red piece of paper out of her notebook. He talks to his other ex-girlfriend, Kara, which...
Dude's a player.
Yeah, I mean, he just pulls tail, I guess. And
honestly, I don't blame him.
JGL's the man. I mean,
especially in this movie, dude is an absolute legend in this movie.
Regardless of if you think JGL is good looking or not, the dude drips with so much swagger. Like he could probably convince me to go out to dinner in the movies with him.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, he's awesome in this movie. So he talks to his other ex-girlfriend, Kara, and finds the completed piece of the red paper. It's an invitation to a party. So the invitation has a phone number on the back of it. Brendan calls it, and a girl named Laura answers. Once he says that he has Emily's invite, she tells him where and when the party is. He goes to this party, which is where it further fuels the noir aesthetic. This is where you really get into more of the nice cinematography. It's at night at this big fancy suburban Californian home. I believe this was filmed in California. And there's a lot of candlelight. I wonder what kind of party they were having.
It was a Halloween party.
Well, Halloween in January.
Yeah,
that's what it
Halloween
said.
in January
That's what it said,
was
right.
the party invitation.
So, and the soundtrack once again is just slapping throughout this whole scene. So he goes to this party and meets up with Laura, and she's going to be our femme fatale throughout the film. She was good too. I thought she was good
I think she did a really good job. She played her part really well.
She was she's the actress Nora. Let me look at here. Nora Zettinger, which I've never seen, or I looked at her IMDb.
Yeah,
Nora Zettinger, and man, she really hasn't played in a whole lot of other stuff.
But speaking of that femme fatale, that character archetype, they really do a really, they hit every beat with the characters in this movie. Everything you would expect from a noir movie is here. You've got Brain, your informant character. Obviously, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Brendan. He's our detective. Right. And then you've got Laura, the femme fatale. They place fake suspects. They try and throw you off their trail.
Yeah, and you can't even call it cliche, because when this came out, what other noir movies are being made at this point in time? Yeah. Not many. If you just Google neo-noirs, the list isn't very long.
And they just do it they just do something so unique with it that they really make it their own while still hitting all those strides you would expect from a movie like this.
Yeah, putting it in that setting. Mm-hmm. So I lost my place. Once he meets up with Laura, they go upstairs to talk. She tells him that Emily has been hanging out with someone behind a local cafe called Coffee and Pie, Oh My. So he follows Laura outside whenever she says she's leaving him for a minute. She'll be back in just a couple minutes. He says he was going to wait on her, but, like the goat he is, he follows her outside and tails her. Yeah, tails her, Jinx. And sees her talking to a character that we haven't actually been introduced yet here. His name's Tug, standing next to his car.
The same car that was
this car
seen,
is
the car is just as much a recurring character as everyone else.
I love that car. I would totally drive that car. And I love how later on in the film, Tug's defensive about other people driving his car. Yeah. So Brendan goes to Coffee and Pie, Oh My, and meets up with Dode. Dode is kind of like this. He looks like a greaser or something. I not gonna lie, I like his aesthetic. Got the black leather jacket and the black hair and the cowboy boots with the skinny jeans, but he's kind of a piece of shit in this movie.
He looks like Shigo's assistant from Kim Possible. What was his name?
I haven't. I know who you're talking about.
Was it Deacon? Was that his name?
I've never watched Kim Possible.
No?
No. I was a Cartoon Network kid growing up.
All right. Well, if you've seen Kim Possible, the blue guy that hangs out with Shigo,
I know
this
the
guy
character
looks like a
you're
real
talking
version
about.
of that guy.
Yeah.
That's it. When I saw him, that's immediately what I thought of. I was like, that's Shigo's henchman from Kim Possible.
He does look like him, actually. Even the bluish tint,
on his eyes, yeah.
Yeah, he just looked. You could tell he was strung out.
Yeah. But which is the point,
right? They emphasize on him kind of being I don't want to say scumbag, but the dude's got problems. He's got a drug problem, and they convey that just by looking at him. So, like we said, Brendan meets up with Dode here, and Dode has been dating Emily. When Dode leaves, Brendan follows him, tails him, and sees him meet up with Emily and give her a slip of paper. So Brendan and Emily meet up. She says the only way for him to help is to get over her. As they hug, he takes a notebook out of her pocket. Inside is a note that Dode gives her, that Dode gave her.
Yeah, she slips it in the notebook.
Right. And Brendan looks at this note that Dode slipped Emily, and it's got a symbol on there. Kind of looks like it almost looks like an anarchist A without the circle around it, but that's not what it is. I can't describe it.
Well, they got symbols for everything. It could be a letter, could be a symbol.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to describe it, but
that's what Brain says about it.
Yeah, it just got a symbol, which Brendan does not understand. He goes to Brain, like Brett was just saying, to ask him if he knows anything about it, and Brain says that the symbol could possibly refer to a meeting place in the town, but he doesn't know which one. All the upper crust guys that deal in drugs, they use symbols to talk about where they're going to meet up at and what kind of deal is going to go down and when. So later that night, after the time Emily is supposed to be at this meeting place, Brendan realizes that the symbol stands for the tunnel. So after the fact, on the note with the symbol, it had a time written on it. Well, Brendan couldn't figure out where it was to be at until after the time, and so he heads to the place, to the tunnel.
And that brings us
to
the opening shot of the movie.
At that point, the flashback catches up to the present where Emily is lying there dead. And so here we go with the plot thickening and hunting down of the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So voiceover turns into a flashback. Brendan and Emily are fighting. She slaps him and he pushes her. They keep referencing somebody named Jer. Later in the film, it kind of elaborates on this when he's meeting up with, I can't remember who he's talking to about it. But this character, Jer, is somebody that Brendan used to deal drugs with.
Yeah.
So Brendan
was on the inside.
Yeah, Brendan dabbled as well. But Brendan ratted
got
him
out of the life.
Yeah, he ratted him out to the vice principal. And it's implied that Jer and Emily also had some sort of relationship. So, just like a lot of intertwining relationships. And
there's a lot to keep track of. But I feel like they do a good job of keeping it organized so where you don't get too lost.
It doesn't make it too difficult. It really doesn't. I feel like me rambling through this synopsis is almost more difficult than just actually watching
a little
the
bit.
movie.
It's harder to like when you watch it and you start seeing all those pieces falling into place, it clicks just like you're like, that's leading into that, that's what happened there. But there's still a good air because like they strike a good balance between keeping it so that there's a mystery for you to figure out along the way while also making sure you stay invested and in the loop without falling too far out of it.
Right. So like we said, that was a flashback that Brendan was having after once he looked at Emily's dead body. He had another flashback whenever him and Emily were arguing about Brendan ratting out their friend Jer. And it's kind of inferred here that Jer also had a relationship with Emily. So Emily She was just the muse of all these men.
There's lots of cooks in this kitchen.
Yeah, you're good. You got the quotes there. So back to present day, Brendan goes to Brain to find out what the words Emily said on the phone meant. So they're elaborating on this now. Mm-hmm. And Brain doesn't really recognize any of them, but he knows that the Pen is a big-time drug dealer in the town. He's kind of like the cream of the crop. He's the guy that all these local high school people go through. Penn isn't in high school. He's a little bit older. He's linked to all the popular kids, like I just said, that M was trying to be friends with. So M was trying to get involved in this.
Yeah, M wanted in their circle.
She was done with Brendan's small time drug peddling, and she wanted to go big.
She was shooting straight to the top.
She wanted to be a career drug lady. That sounded terrible, but
a Drady, if you will.
Yes. Brendan picks a fight with one of the popular kids in school, Brad Bramish, in the parking lot, so he can get Penn's attention. He does this because he knows that Brad Bramish is a popular kid. He's one of the upper crust, and he's one of the guys that he's one of the bigger guys that peddles drugs at the school.
And he absolutely whoops
he dismantles him, doesn't he?
My God. Oh,
and this guy is like
him.
Them casting him with the name Brad is hilarious because he's such a Brad.
You look at him and you're like, oh, that's Brad.
Yeah, like he's a big like buff jock and like always talking about how tough he is, and he challenges Brendan to a fight, and Brendan kind of beats his ass.
Oh yeah, there's not a ton of action in this movie.
No, not
but
really.
The action that is there is extremely well choreographed.
Yeah,
especially, and the peak of that is definitely the fight with Brad.
Yeah,
it is just so well done that it's like
pretty realistic too. Because I don't think Brendan was like punching him and knocking him out.
No, they were going basically blow for blow, and then Brendan just sort of got the upper hand. It's just again,
Brendan was using that shin kick.
Oh yeah,
technique.
He kicked him in the shin so many times.
You know that had to hurt.
So bad. It just keeps circling around to how real this movie feels.
Yeah,
it's very grounded.
Very grounded.
And then when it gets a little less grounded, it's like it's stylistic instead of distracting.
Yeah, it doesn't upset you. Yeah, because you're already
invested.
Yeah, you're already invested in the story and the characters. So Brad. Wait a minute, I lost my place. Laura, she comes to Brendan after this scrum, if you will, and talks to Brendan. Yeah, a skirmish. Talks to Brendan. But Brendan says he can't trust her. Bitch, you're a femme fatale. And kind of walks away from her. But as soon as he walks away, Tug shows up. This is the guy that drives the black Mustang and punches Brendan in the face.
Oh, just lays him out.
Yeah, Tug is a unit. He's kind of stocky. Brendan gets called into the vice principal's office, and the vice principal tries to strike him a deal. The VP will stay off of his back if Brendan tells him what's going on and kind of gives him a little bit of inside intel on, the issues going on here with the drugs at school. See, they still don't know about Emily yet, and Brendan kind of tells him no at first, but the VP says if he doesn't help him out, they'll blame Brendan for anything they find.
Yeah, he'll be their fault.
So he's kind of swindled into it, and like we said earlier, he ratted out his buddy Jer to the VP. Mm-hmm. So we know that Brendan's familiar with the vice principal. Brendan walks through the parking lot and sees the black car, Tug's, from the beginning. He holds a brick over the car to smash it, and Tug sees this and comes over and punches Brendan. Brendan kind of takes an ass whooping here. He puts up enough of a fight that Tug finally, says, well, this guy's earned something here.
Second greatest scene in the entire movie. Tug's trying to get away. Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, elaborate on that.
Tug's trying to get away.
Because it is a badass scene.
Tug's trying to get away from Brendan, who just will not let this man leave because he's trying to grill him for information. But Tug finally gets Brendan off him long enough to try and drive his car away. But Brendan chucks a rock right at the car and hits it. And we see Tug drive away, and we think that he's just leaving. But then he turns around, and then he's coming straight down, like speed, and this is a fast car. He's coming straight towards Brendan. And Brendan, and this is just more of that Brendan swag, he's standing steadfast, right?
Yeah.
Just plant yourself like a tree and say, no, you move. Shout out Cap. He's from Civil War.
Yeah.
He's just standing there, staring this car down. And we think, Tug's going to hit him. And he goes right by him.
Yeah, like
and
literally within inches.
Within inches of his knuckles, Brendan's knuckles, because his hand's down by his side. And it does this close-up of his hand and then his jacket swaying from the wind of the car.
Yeah, I love that.
And then Tug stops the car after he speeds past him. Brendan just walks up to the window. Brendan swag, knocks on it. He's like, I want to know the pin.
Yeah, he says, I guess you do.
Yep.
Another thing I really like about that, when that car is just like barreling towards them and it's cutting from like car, Brendan.
Yeah.
And right before it shows the car pass and like you said, the wind, it kind of like shows one of those Western type close-ups on Brendan's face.
I was just about to say, it's like those Western, that kind of shot from.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Because that just, like Brett said, that's that swagger that he has that, like...
And again...
He's got massive cojones.
He does.
He closes his eyes and like, well, if this is it,
Yeah, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, again, plays it incredibly because you can feel sort of that, like,
The dude's just a great actor.
Because you can sort of feel through the screen that, Brendan's nervous about this, but he's steadfast, like, he has it on good authority that this guy's not going to just run him over in broad daylight. But, even taking that chance, it still kind of gets to him a little bit, but he doesn't show it. And that's throughout the whole film. He does a really good job of conveying that, maybe I am in over my head, but he doesn't quite show it.
Right.
But that could just be me looking too far into things. I do that sometimes.
That's why we're here, to elaborate on our opinions. So anyways, Tug throws Brendan in the fucking trunk of the car. And is on his way to take Brendan to meet the pin. On the way, though, Brendan is able to pop open this trunk from the inside, which honestly is a little unrealistic. I mean, I guess there's a crowbar in there.
Well, to be fair, I don't know if this type of car
they made it realistic enough because, like I said, there was a crowbar in there. Obviously, you use that to pry it open, but at the same time, like, man, like, go out there to my car and try and get that trunk open.
My car actually has...
I will let you lay down in my trunk with a crowbar, and I want to see if you can pop that motherfucker open.
My car actually has an anti-kidnapping handle in the trunk.
Ooh.
It glows in the dark, and it's for... So if you lock someone in the trunk, they'll see it glow, and if you pull that, the trunk opens.
Ah, okay.
So you can open it from the inside of the trunk.
Hell yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
No, I didn't know that. That is cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think they had things like
I
that
don't think this car had that.
Yeah, this is like a late 60s model, like Mustang.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have that. But they do show him with a crowbar. But anyways, he pops the trunk. Tug does not notice, and Brendan catches enough of a glimpse of a address as they're pulling in the driveway for where the pin's HQ is located at. So Tug takes Brendan in there with his hand over his eyes to meet with the pin. And the pin turns around and they have a little bit of a banter, and Penn says he will pay Brendan to not rat him out. But first he wants to check out what Brendan's all about, check out his story.
Mm-hmm. His tale.
Yeah, they have and this is a cool scene here where, Penn doesn't understand what he's there for and what his upper hand is. And that's whenever Brendan tells him, I mean, your idiot muscle guy here didn't realize I saw where we're at. I'm going to go tell everybody.
Yeah.
And but once again, Brendan's backbone kind of buys him some respect here. Yep. So the Penn sits down. They have a discussion. Turns out that the Penn, which he's not a high school kid, I think at one point they say he's 26 years old. They said. So basically, he's running a drug peddling kingdom from his mom's basement.
Yep.
Literally his mom's HQ
basement.
Is in his mom's
really
basement.
Funny scene after that where it cuts to upstairs and his mom's offering Brendan apple juice and he's eating cereal
while they're having a drug deal meeting, and she's like oblivious. Oh, I'm gonna go to the other room. But that's a great scene too. So basically, the end of the conversation is Penn said they're going to check out his credentials, see what he's got. And
you're either going to rob him or hire him.
By the end of the next day, rub him or hire him.
Did they say rub?
If you rub somebody out, that means
I thought they said
you
rob.
erase them.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. So he tells them they're either going to rub him or hire him. So we'll revert back to Brendan going to meet with Laura, and Laura tells Brendan that Emily stole a brick from Penn. So that was, hold on a second here. Yeah, she stole a brick from the Penn because she was addicted and wasn't acting herself. That's why she was so spastic whenever she spoke with Brendan on the phone earlier in the film. And for those of you that don't know about the brick, it's a brick of heroin. So it's not like these are like weed dealers. They're peddling heroin, hard shit. Back at school, Brendan just left his locker, and this is the next day. A guy is approaching Brendan, and Brendan kind of says, "Are you with the Penn?" And the guy doesn't say anything, as he just he's got a brisk walk going as he's approaching Brendan. Brendan says, "What do you want?" And then, like, whenever this guy gets within 5 feet of Brendan, he whips out a switchblade and takes a hack at Brendan in his arm. Brendan's able to escape, and he takes off running. And after a nice little chase scene, we talked about how this was constructed and they used sound to convey this scene. Brendan gets the upper hand on this guy and trips him into falling into a metal pole and knocks him unconscious. So after this happens, the Penn shows up in a van and picks up Brendan, and they do a little mafia like lap around the high school parking lot, and the Penn tells him he's going to hire him.
Yeah, they really.
And that's whenever we were kind of like, "What the hell? Who's this dude with a knife?"
Yeah,
So obviously it wasn't the Penn's guy, but
with the lap around the parking lot, that just coming back to they just use this concept so well. For a lot of visual gags. And just like funny.
And like
moments.
We talked about earlier, how like it takes itself so seriously.
Yeah, that you don't even really like. It's funny when you talk about it.
You don't have to laugh at that, but like at the same time, it's like
it's just funny to think about.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like
it's a funny idea.
It is funny, but it doesn't detract from the movie being such a serious tone. It is funny. There are definitely a couple funny things here.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they were intentionally funny.
Oh, definitely.
Like the whole mom serving them up OJ when they're talking about peddling heroin.
Yeah, but they just use their setting to the absolute fullest.
So we don't know who this hitman was that came at Brendan with the knife out. The knives out.
My mic was muted, but I gasped.
After his meeting with the Penn in the parking lot, Brendan goes to a phone and gets a call from Dode, and Dode tells Brendan that he saw Brendan moving Emily's body. Mm-hmm. So this synopsis didn't elaborate on that earlier, but
yeah, Brendan, when he finds Emily's body at the overpass, he's talking to Brain, and he says he doesn't want the cops involved. I don't remember exactly why he didn't want the cops involved in it.
I think he just doesn't want the cops involved in it yet because he wants to actually get to the bottom of it. The cops are going to pin the first person they can, which could be Brendan too.
Yeah.
Because like we stated earlier, a lot of cooks in the kitchen that is Emily. Mm-hmm. And, Brendan was one of those cooks.
Yeah. And so he hides the body. And Dode was in the tunnel while he was hiding it. And so he's trying to use that as leverage against our boy Brendan to, I guess, get back at him for...
and I thought that scene was kind of interesting because when Dode's on the phone, you don't actually see Dode, obviously. You just see Brendan in the payphone booth talking to him. But you can hear what Dode's saying. Mm-hmm. And, like, throughout the rest of the movie, Dode is portrayed as kind of like a sniveling wimp.
Yeah, a little bit.
And because when Brendan goes to meet up with Dode at Coffee and Pie Oh My.
Oh, he lays him out.
Yeah, Brendan kind of like beats his ass.
Yeah.
And But whenever Dode's on the phone with him, he's got some like pretty cool lines. Whenever he says, "Why do you send that guy with the knife to rub me out?" He said, "I don't need a knife. I don't need a gun. All I got to do is squawk."
Yep.
Which is more that's just awesome dialogue.
He's a sap. I laid him out in front of his boys. They didn't jump. That's how I know he's a sap.
Yeah,
says that about Brad after he kicks his ass.
Yeah. It's really awesome. So Dode tells him that he saw him with Emily's body and says he's going to rat him out. So Brendan gets with his boy Brain, and Brain is showing him a newspaper which says that Emily has been reported as missing. So it doesn't really say how much time has passed since he found and hid Emily's body, but we're going to assume it's been a couple days, 2-3 days or so. And so he tells Brendan that Frisco, the poor Frisco that was referenced earlier as one of the things Emily said, was involved in the drug ring, and he had taken a dose of heroin and was in a coma at the ER because there were traces of laundry detergent in it. Mm-hmm. So that tells
How'd that get in there?
Yeah, that tells you that somebody cut the brick and then mixed it with something else to try and hide that they stole. So Brendan and which, like you said earlier about the noir archetype of having like red herrings, like we don't know who would have cut the brick right now. I think it's pretty safe to say that we could rule out the pin, but you have Tug, you have Dode, you have Emily.
You have Emily.
And Laura. Mm-hmm. And I think it's safe to say, even though we love Brendan, he's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
So...
he plays his cards very close to his chest.
Brendan sneaks into the Pinn's house, which is funny too. But Brendan sneaks into the Pinn's house and finds a brick in the basement. After searching through his office and going through his back room, Tug comes in and catches him and punches him.
Tug loves punching Brendan in the face. There's so many, and I love
Tug is portrayed as a hothead.
Yes,
he has
he's the
a really bad
muscle.
temper. Yes. Brendan gets Tug to take his side by saying he gets angry when the Pin isn't honest, and Tug gets upset with that. And you can definitely tell that Tug's kind of sick of being the muscle. He's kind of sick of being the Pin's.
Lapdog is the word they use.
Yeah, it's a term used by Tug himself. So he takes his side, and Tug tells Brendan that there were originally 10 bricks. 8 of them were sold, but the 9th one disappeared and then came back, and that was the brick that Frisco took a cut from that was bad. So they still have the 10th brick. Tug pretends he doesn't know Emily, but whenever the Pin comes in while they're talking, the Pin says something about the missing girl in the papers and says that that's Tug's
lady
ex-girlfriend. So
one more cook in the kitchen.
Yeah, once again, our girl Emily. Okay, so Dode arranges a meeting with the Pin. He says he knows who killed Emily. On the way to the meeting, Brendan gets sick from swallowing too much blood. And we're assuming that this blood
comes from the countless times.
Yeah, from him getting punched.
The hell beat out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten punched quite a few times throughout this past couple days.
Shout out to the makeup team, by the way, for doing all the wounds he suffers to his gorgeous face.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the red flecks on his cheek.
Joseph Gorgeous Levitt. No, I genuinely was. It looked good.
I mean, yeah, okay, good job, guys. But it wasn't like a creature feature where it's like just state of the art. Like,
listen, if Suicide Squad can win Best Makeup Department, so can.
Well,
Rick.
That's a little different, but it did look good.
Killer Croc looks like one of those fruits. Darian.
Killer Croc looked good. You talking about 2016?
Yes.
Yeah, he looked fine.
He looked like a Darian.
He looked like a what?
A
durian? From, are you talking about from Avengers?
No, like the fruit.
A Darian?
It might be durian. It's like spiky. Anyway, that's... I'll show you later.
Man, what kind of exotic fruits are you eating?
I don't eat them. I know what it is. I know of it.
Did you get those at the same store you got the Wampa fruits from?
I know about the durians in passing.
I thought you were talking about like the aliens from the Avengers that take over that attack New York. What are they called?
Chitauri.
The Chitauri. Okay. Well, I mean, what? Don't give me shit about getting whatever you just said confused with Chitauri.
That's fair.
Okay, so back in the saddle here. Dode arranges this meeting with Penn. They meet up. Brendan's there, but he gets sick from swallowing too much blood. He's kind of like stumbling and leaning against the wall. He confronts Dode, and Dode tells the Penn that he thinks Brendan killed Emily. Dode states that Emily was pregnant with Dode's child.
Well, Dode actually never says... Dode doesn't actually get to say that he thinks it's Brendan. He keeps alluding to who he thinks it is.
He thinks it's Brendan. Just because he saw Brendan move the body.
Yeah, but he doesn't tell the Penn that. When they're interrogating by the
overpass. He never once
overpass.
actually says Brendan's name.
Because... And they did that purposely because he's saying, oh, it's someone close to you.
Right.
It was because he didn't want to keep the baby. And that gets Tug going, which leads us into...
Yeah. So at that point, when Dode says all this, Tug pulls a gun out and shoots Dode in the face. Bro. Which those were cool makeup effects whenever Dode was down on his knee and all the blood sprayed out of the back.
And then the smoke coming out of the hole from his... I don't know if that was intentional or just because that's like the effect they
like
used,
this movie probably could have got a PG-13 rating without that scene. Like... Yeah. Because I don't remember a lot of cursing or...
No, actually, you know what? I don't think I can remember a single curse word, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't...
It's mostly just this. Well, there is one at the very end, but it's actually you can't actually hear it unless you have captions on.
Yeah. Okay, so that happens, and there's a little bit of a shake-up. It's real quick. Like the next 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you can hear police sirens in the back. The Penn takes off down the tunnel under the overpass to escape. And Brendan, at this point, didn't he kind of like pass out because he was like coughing so bad? He passes out and wakes up at Tug's house. Tug confesses that he did, in fact, kill Emily.
Mm-hmm. And there we have our whodunit.
Yeah, so we find out who the murderer is. Tug says that there's now going to be a war between him and the Penn and that Brendan has to be on Tug's side. Brendan organizes a meeting between Tug and Penn to try and sort things out, or so he says. I don't think at the end of the day he particularly cares. He's just still trying to get to the bottom of things. Even though Tug said that he was the one who killed Emily. So Laura shows up at Tug's house with Brendan while Brendan's laid up in bed, and it kind of infers that they have sex. I mean, I didn't really... they're like kind of like making out. I guess they did. I think I don't know. I think
they wake up with all their clothes still on. So I think it was sort of like that again noir archetype where our detective gets linked in with the femme fatale, but they put that high school spin on it where they just kiss and then because she's smoking the cigarette.
Well, I mean, honestly though, you got to think like back when noirs, like in the 40s and 50s, you couldn't have nudity in a film at all or anything like that. So that's basically what would happen if you were going to infer that somebody had, a sexual encounter. Is they kissed and it would cut.
And then it fades to black.
It fade to black and then it showed back up.
And then they're laying.
And I think one thing that's also like a allusion to sex or post-sex is like she's ripping the cigarette.
Yeah, that's what I.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that must be where they're getting that at. But so she's smoking this cigarette, and she puts it in the ashtray, and Brendan notices that it has a blue arrow on it. So if you're not keeping up with me and Brett rambling here, at the opening of the film, whenever he talks to Emily in the phone booth and that Mustang drives by, there's a cigarette that gets flicked out, and it's got a blue arrow on the butt.
Yep.
So Brendan leaves the bed, and he goes downstairs to talk to Tug. He asks to borrow Tug's car so he can throw off any suspecting cops if Tug is followed, while he's en route to the Penn's house for this link-up that Brendan organized. Then after that, he asked Tug for a cigarette. Tug said he doesn't smoke. Brendan says, I've seen you smoke before. He said, I don't smoke cigarettes. So that's whenever he realizes that scene at the beginning was not Tug driving the car. It was Laura. At that point, Brendan leaves. Brendan goes to the patented payphone in Tug's car, and he calls Brain and tells him to call the police at 4:15 and to say that there are drugs in the back of the black Mustang. Once he gets to the meeting point between the Pen and Tug, the Pen wants to make sure that the last brick of heroin has not been messed with, so he tells Tug that the only way that they're going to gain a truce is for him to take a dose off of it. Tug refuses because the police will be called soon, and Brendan says, YOLO, I'll do the dose. When someone goes upstairs to get the brick, it is gone. A shot is fired upstairs. Tug and the Pen fight. Brendan takes Tug's gun away from him whenever Tug's trying to kill the Pen, and as Brendan is leaving, we hear Pen calling for Brendan to come help him. I mean, I know that it's elaborated a little bit later, but I'm pretty sure Tug was beating the life out of the Pen.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Oh, 100%.
The Pen's like, we didn't really say this, but he's
got a bad leg.
He's kind of a crippled person. I think what it was he's got a that disorder where one leg is shorter than the other. That's why he had the cane and the one big shoe.
Right.
What he strikes me as? He strikes me as like a kid that was really smart in school, but a total nerd. Like that room looks like he was sat down there and played Dungeons and Dragons.
Well,
he wears a cape.
He does. The room is actually set up the same way as the mailbox.
With the eagle statue?
Yeah, and the green panel is the exact same shade and texture of green as the 1250 on the mailbox was.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's tight.
I don't know what it means, but it's cool. It's just...
Hey, Rian Johnson's the man, so it probably means something.
It was just an interesting fact I noticed that the mailbox and the room shared the same design. So
Brendan throws the gun on the ground back into the room, and he jolts out of there.
Books it.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool too, him running through the bodies of the rest of the Tug's men and the Pen's men fighting. Yeah, he does a barrel roll out the window and slow-mo walks away from explosion in the background.
There's no explosion.
I lied about that. So anyways, which is good that I lied about that.
The house explodes and the credits roll.
He escapes this house where Tug and the Pen are battling with all their men. And we see that Emily is in Tug's trunk and the police will find her. Okay. Yeah. And then it shows Emily's body in Tug's trunk and the police are there. So the next morning at school, Brendan meets with Laura at the football field. Brendan lies to Laura and says he never made it to Penn's. So Laura tells Brendan what happened. 6 people were found dead. Here's where it elaborates on what happened.
Yeah.
6 people were found dead, including Penn, Tug, and Emily. Brendan then tells her and the viewers what Laura's role in all of this was. So this is kind of like a mic drop moment where Brendan is like, Laura's comforting him, trying to tell, she thinks she got away with it. And Brendan's like, nah, I knew what was going on. I knew what you was doing the whole time.
Gives us the whole putting the pieces together speech.
And I kind of like that too, because it's like, instead of like a movie where it just wants to, okay, so here's the big exposition dump at the end to tell you everything.
Yeah. If
you weren't smart enough to figure it out. He says, I know you did it, and I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah.
He goes to walk away, and she's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like,
you want me to tell me to tell your
he's
tale?
Like, fine. You want
to hear it?
Yeah. Yeah. So then he does. And so Brendan tells us that Laura stole the 9th brick, and she took half of it off and then cut the rest with the laundry detergent. After Frisco hit that heroin from the bad brick, he was put in the coma from using it. Laura needed someone to blame, so she put it on Emily. The Pen sends Tug to go talk to Emily and find out what happened, and Laura tells Emily to tell Tug that she's pregnant with his baby to try and, she thinks that that'll keep the heat off of Emily.
Yeah.
Emily thinks that'll keep the heat off of her. Laura is acting like that will help her, but Laura just knows that that'll definitely screw her over. Anyone who knows Tug knows what he would do, so Laura knew that Tug would kill Emily, like we just said.
Yeah.
Laura had taken the 10th brick so that a huge fight would break out at the Pens, so she planned that too. Brendan tells her that he slipped a note to the vice principal telling him to search her locker, where we see the VP finding the 10th brick. Laura then tells Brendan that Emily's baby was his and she was going to abort it. And then at this point, Laura's a mess. She knows she's been had.
Yep.
So that's when she tells Brendan that
kick in the pants.
It was 3 months is what it was. And she said that she didn't actually love the father, so that's why she didn't want to tell him. And then she leans over to... did she kiss him there?
No, she whispered.
She tried to, but then she whispered.
Yeah.
Did she try to kiss him? I can't remember.
No, she was just whispering.
That was when she knew she was.
Yeah, because I was reading up about it. It's a reference to a novel.
Oh, really?
Where in the ending, a lady does the same thing. She leans over and whispers a curse in his ear.
Yeah, so at this point, Brain shows up while Laura's walking away, and Brendan's kind of, looking on, seeing her walk away, knowing Brendan championed the day.
That Brendan swag.
Yeah, and Brain's like, what did she whisper to you? And Brendan says a dirty word. And then
Brain thinks he's lying.
Yeah,
he says,
Brain
if you don't want to tell me,
shit.
you could just tell me.
Yeah. So, and that's basically where we wrap up. And
that's Brick.
That is Brick, which, as we said already, this movie, I love it. This is probably, like I was telling Brett, my, I don't know, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth viewing. Mm-hmm. And, it's a movie.
This is my first time watching. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. It's the first time I'd seen it. It's
a movie. Yeah, I think you did.
Oh,
it's a movie that's not super difficult to follow, but it's also just one of those movies that every time you revisit it, you'll find something that you didn't realize before.
Yep.
I
can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, like you just said about the eagle, I never noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a couple other things I probably should have wrote down that I noticed this time that I didn't previously. But it's just a great movie. It's everything I want as far as like that noir aesthetic. Joseph Gordon-Levitt crushes it, and the dialogue, like Brett said, we just like want to talk. The way they talk throughout this film.
I wish
we should have wrote down some of the quotes.
Oh, I remember a few.
Okay, we'll spout off some of your favorite quotes. I can rattle
off a few of my favorite quotes. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Yes. We got a classic, which is... well,
I guess I could look up quotes on IMDb here.
Go
ahead.
Brain's talking... Brain's asking Braden what he's... Brendan, sorry. Brain's asking Brendan what he's going to do next. That Brendan swag. He just goes, shake the tree, see what falls on our heads.
Yeah, that was one of my original favorite quotes too.
And then another one that I really liked was after the first time he goes to interrogate Judd, not Judd, Doge.
Dode. Yeah, Dode.
The first time he goes to interrogate Dode, and he's not cooperating, lays him out, just starts beating on him, and Dode's gang tries to step up.
That was it right there.
Oh, it's right there. He said Brendan turns to the Dode's gang and he goes, "Throw one at me if you want, Hashhead. I've got all 5 senses, and I slept last night. That puts me 6 up on the lot of you."
Yeah, and like it's hilarious too because like.
And they talk like that the whole movie. Everyone does.
And this elaborates on like what we were saying earlier about Dode's character being portrayed as kind of like a druggie and like a burnout. Like he's got these homies there that ain't even like trying to help Dode while he's getting his ass kicked. And whenever Brendan finally leaves, like that one stoner's like, what does he say?
You better. He's like, yeah, keep running.
Yeah, yeah, and like they just stood there and stared the whole time. But yeah, man, there's some awesome quotes. Like whenever he starts the fight with Brad Bramish, they're in the school parking lot, and Brad, this jock archetype, is out there kind of like rattling on about how he was supposed to be, like, he was supposed to do something for the football team. I guess he didn't get a start, or he didn't get to do, play whatever position he wanted.
This is the second time we see him telling this story, by the way.
Yeah, like the dude's
it's the
got
one story he has.
Does he only have 2 scenes? In both scenes, he's
telling the same story. Yeah,
yeah.
He tells it once at the Halloween in January, and then he tells it again in the parking lot.
Yeah, so he's out in this parking lot, like rambling about this bullshit, and Brendan's, he just pulls up a seat and is listening,
Mm-hmm.
and Brad notices him like kind of sitting there with a cocky smirk, and Brad's like, "What are you doing here?" And Brendan says, "I'm just listening." and then they kind of have like their eyes lock and have a stare down, and then Brendan finally speaks up and says, "All right, you got me. I'm a scout for the Gophers," referring to the University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. He says, "I'm a scout for the Gophers. Been watching your game for a month, but that story right there just clinched it. You got heart, kid. How soon can you be in Minneapolis?" And Brad Bramage says, "Yeah." And then Brendan says, "There's cold winters, but they got a great transit system." And then that's whenever they erupt into a fist fight.
There's a thesaurus in the library.
Brad says,
why?
Yeah, Brad says, "Yeah," a couple more times, and that's when Brendan says, "Yeah, the thesaurus in the library. Yeah, it falls under Y. Go ahead, I'll wait." And they get into a fight.
And there's a funny part where Brad's like, "You want to take this somewhere more private?" And they just go to a different part of the same parking lot.
Yeah, they literally like just walk like one lane over.
And then everyone follows
Everybody
them.
just follows them right over and watches them fight. But the dialogue's amazing, man. And then
I said this one earlier, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I said this one earlier, but my third favorite quote is, "He's a sap. I know he's a sap." He says he's a sap. I laid him out in front of his boys. They didn't jump. That's how I know he's a sap.
Which he is. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Like you're good at memorizing those. But the dialogue's great. The basically everything we already touched on before we even read the synopsis. I don't really have any qualms or reservations with this film.
There's not a lot I could like fully say that I didn't like.
Yeah, I mean, I like there wasn't a character that I didn't like. I mean, I guess like I will say the one character that is almost like a MacGuffin type character is probably like Kara.
Yeah, she doesn't do a lot.
Yeah.
He grills her like 4 different times, and every time he gets nothing out of her.
Kind of the only role Kara plays is a red herring for the audience.
Yeah.
Which I don't think was 100% necessary because...
And it also doesn't really work well.
Yeah, we already had like 2 or 3 other red herrings.
Yeah,
anyway.
and I never really suspected her for anything because she didn't give him anything any of the times.
Yeah, you know, they delivered some great dialogue between the two. But
yeah, they have some great scenes. Like that scene I was talking about earlier where he's grilling her and he's angry about it and then he breaks the mirror. That's a really good scene. And she's the focal point of, but in terms of the broader story, she's not really. And
I guess that's the one great part of her being in the film is she's the plot device that pushes for that great scene. But other than that, she's really not necessary. But I mean,
but the actor that plays her does it phenomenally. There's a scene where she's her lapdog is in the room and she's putting on a false face, and she actually literally in that scene has a false face on because her face is painted for the school play, and she's acting like she's all upset about all the news she's been hearing, and then she sends the lapdog to grab her. It's not an actual dog; it's a guy, but that she calls him her lapdog.
Yeah, what was he? I mean, he was just like a little. I don't even know what he was doing.
But she sends him out, and then the moment he's out, she stops crying and she starts toying with Brendan, and that's when he does his little.
You know, I didn't pick up on that either. Is that she was wearing like the false face, like the clown face or whatever. That's awesome too. But you know, I guess if there was one complaint, it would maybe be. I guess one red herring too many. It's not even a complaint.
You can't really, because her character leads to so many good scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm clenching straws here on any negatives.
We're really grasping.
You know, if you want my honest opinion on Rian Johnson, he might have peaked too early.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's better than any of his other movies I've watched.
It is really.
I mean, I don't particularly care for Last Jedi at all, and Knives Out's a great movie too, but I would watch Brick.
Yeah, if you have any interest in mysteries or noir type films, absolutely give it a watch. Check it out.
Yeah, it's a great whodunit. With that said, I mean, like any other elaboration or you want to give a rating here? Have you even given that any thought?
A rating? Are we doing ratings?
I was thinking, I want to do out of 10.
We're going to do ratings out of 10?
Because that way we can fluctuate. Like what I sent you with all my other movies, I like to be able to give like a 0.5 or a 0.75.
All right. I'll let you lead us off.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I want you to give us your rating.
Well, so like I said, I'm clenching straws and negatives here. I don't want to give it just a flat out 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Especially on our first podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like that a lot.
That makes me feel like I'm not doing a good job of critiquing this.
Well, it's kind of hard because it's like sometimes a movie's not a 10, but you don't really have any reasons for why it shouldn't be. You just feel that that's too high.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go with probably a 9.5. Maybe a 9.75, honestly.
I was thinking 9.5. I was going to hit it with a 9.5.
I don't want anybody that does give this podcast a follow-up listen to question my judgment skills, please.
To be fair, this is all completely subjective. Just because we like a movie doesn't mean you have to like it, and just because we don't like one doesn't mean that it's absolute garbage and you shouldn't watch it. You should always form your own opinions.
Yeah, and this is one of those this is one of those things, like I stated earlier. I've watched this film multiple times. It's one of my favorite movies. I would say it's probably in my top 5 favorite films. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna give it probably a 9.75. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because I don't want to give it a 10.
Yeah.
I'm scared to give anything a 10. I'm sure there's some negative in there somewhere.
I'm going to give it a 9.5, and my stated reason is going to be...
I'll give it a 9.75. The only complaints I have is they could have put some mousse in JGL's hair and made it look a little bit fancier.
No, I loved his hair. His hair was great. He actually... I didn't bring this up because it's not relevant.
They should have gave him Brain's glasses, and Brain could have had his glasses. I only say that because my glasses look just like Brain's.
Yeah, Hunter has glasses. We both wear glasses, but Hunter's looks exactly like Brain's. But Brendan looks exactly like this guy I went to school with.
Oh, really?
Like the hair, the glasses, the lankiness.
I loved everything else about Brendan's swagger, though. Like,
dude, he's so swag.
Like they based his body language and shit off of Spike Spiegel, which you can see it if you watch Cowboy Bebop.
100%.
And I love like his jacket and he wears jeans like mine with the boots,
he's got those boots. His boots jeans. Even felt like Spike Spiegel-esque.
Yeah, they were like kind of like business casual.
They do a lot of shots of him walking, just close ups on his feet while he's walking, and it's just like it just oozes style.
Yeah, this movie's awesome. It's if you ever get the opportunity to watch it, you got to watch it. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So
available wherever movies are sold.
We watched this on Vudu. I purchased it on Vudu a while back and definitely got my money's worth because, like I said, this is probably my 4th or 5th viewing of it. But you get the opportunity, definitely watch it.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna stick to my guns on 9.75. Brett, you said 9.5.
Sticking with the 9.5.
9.5 for Brett. 9.5, or what would be your negative? Why you didn't give it a 10?
Oh, I was gonna say
just because you're scared of the 10 too.
No, I'm not scared of the 10. I give a lot of movies 10s when they probably honestly don't even deserve it. But I'm feeling pretty confident on this 9.5, and it's a petty reason. But as good as the cinematography is, there are some amazing shots in this movie. The type of camera, and maybe it was deliberate, and like we were talking, everything he directed before this was short films.
Yeah.
But, especially during the opening, there were a lot of scenes that looked like something that I would see filmed for a short film on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which isn't and the cinematography of it was great, but like certain types of cameras capture picture differently, and it looked like it looked lower budget than it was. Is what I'm trying to say.
Here's another dumb negative reasoning for me not giving it a perfect score is the color palette for the whole film was like really calm light blues, and blue's my least favorite color.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
I hate blue. I like hunter green.
Oh, right.
Green.
Yeah.
Like army drab green, or I like a crimson red. I like black.
Dig it.
You know me.
Yeah. I'm looking at you right now. I don't see a single color on you that's not gray or black.
I like monochromatic colors.
He does.
Yeah, I'm very monochromatic. They could dump me into Matrix. So yeah, I guess
that's Brick.
That's our review of Brick. Hopefully you guys can respect our review. We'll try and hone our podcasting skills to where we don't ramble and we kind of trim the fat a little bit here. So yeah, if you're one of the like maybe 2 people that listen to this in the whole wide world. Tell some other people.
Oh, absolutely. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your cousins.
Yeah, share it with everybody.
Play it for your cat.
My cat would listen to it.
For real. Shout out Hex.
So that's pretty much it, Brett. You have any other closing thoughts?
I got nothing left for him.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this review of Brick. I'm Hunter. He's Brett. And we are the Real Rendezvous Podcast. See you next time.
See you next time.